putting cocoa mats down in all of our ditches and
Right.
still. It gets destroyed every year,
Huh.
the plowing.
So do you think that that white dust has phosphorus in it?
Supposedly it's better because Seminole recommended it
Well, I know,
as a
but
material. The way to keep the dust down was to put calcium on it, we didn't wanna do that, so, you know. We asked everyone to water in front of their house to try to keep it wet.
Yeah.
It's holding up really well though, so time, we'll see how it does after the plowing, the
what
sanding,
road is that?
Wildwood Estates.
States, okay, so it's on the west side of Long Pond,
Yeah,
off of the Watson Pond Road?
Yep.
Okay. And that's 3.5
3.5 miles.
miles long, wow.
No one knows, there's over 100 houses in there.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
it's pretty steep.
Yeah, it's very steep coming down the hill. So.
Huh.
Yeah,
Oh.
we don't have as much problem with buffers, cause there's so many rocks over there. There's no hope of having a lawn next to the lake,
Well, that's good.
so
It
buffers
looks-
is not a problem.
It looks good from Route 27.
Yeah,
Looking across over there, it doesn't look like that's a problem.
no one has lawn on the lakeside. It's all, we do have the steep hills coming down into it.
Right. Oh,
But you should look up that presentation that Alex Depot did. Pretty good, I think he said it around 2 to 4%,
about what?
2 to 4% of the phosphate load based off coming from the lakes, from the septic. He did nitrogen and phosphate. And for each home within 300 meters of the lake, he has a fan of how much, of intensity of how much phosphate, nitrogen
Oh,
they're leaching. It's very interesting data.
well, that is great.
Of course, it doesn't, account for seasonal, it doesn't account for,
All right,
but it's some of the better data, and they're gonna start working with Brunswick. Brunswick is gonna start to try to implement some more effective regulations.
right, Brunswick, Maine?
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Lenny.
Hello,
Long
hello.
time no see.
Oh. I've been on screen, but.
Long time no see in person.
Where I am. So I wish I could say it was a treat for you to see me, but I don't.
Hey there,
Is that the tree there?
that's the tree, it's not bad, is it?
It looks good.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Just to see it. If 2 people probably want to come in and help fun, but.
Okay, so you're gonna see them over here. Okay, well, here we go.
Brunswick's
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah.
short
So we're
circuiting.
gonna say, admit
Tool for short circuiting.
her, okay? So she's been admitted, so you should be able to see right down here, just here. Should be, there's Janice's iPhone right there, okay, but next time you're gonna see another, it's gonna pop up by you, okay?
Yeah, it's
All good?
Yep.
Okay.
So when.
Did
I'll
it
find
come with the decorations on
We did that today.
it? It looks great.
I didn't have-
I just
I
imagine it.
didn't have any hooks, so I used clips.
It looks good.
And he got 53 kilograms per year of phosphate from Great Pond.
50
kilograms
kilos
a year.
a year of phosphorus coming
Septic.
from septic. Well, that's a lot. I mean, so that's, that's 120 pounds or something like that, was it 2.2,
Yeah, so, and what was that calculation based on?
This was a presentation by a humane student at 7LA yesterday. And it's let me on the website. He said the management plan estimated at 97.
97.
97 kilos or 97 pounds?
Kilo. He said the Great Pond Watershed Management Plan estimated at 97 kilograms a year, and his data suggests it's more like 53 per pound.
53.
And what is his based on?
He went in and online, got all the HHE 15 forms on septic. And then he looked at size, flow, age of systems. And there's a calculation on how much phosphates and nitrogen are going in per each septic system based on that data.
Yeah.
And he's missing about 40% of these forms online. So he took about a 1985 3-bedroom house as his filler.
Yeah.
So he could be,
Little bit off.
One-
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. We'll take roll call. Paul, Jana, Chris, Tanya, Pat, Kimberly, Lenny. We have Michelle from Rome.
Do you see Jana on the?
Yeah. I've got Jana and Paul
Yeah.
all online.
Both.
Paul, do you hear us?
I think Jan is on. I don't know. Did you let Paul in?
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I don't see.
Yeah, there he is.
There's Paul.
There's Paul.
And
I
there's
think you
Jana.
lost Jana.
No, Jan is
Oh,
on.
no, she's in.
Oh, there she is. Hi.
Jana, can you hear us?
Yes,
Paul, can you hear us? We see you.
You're on mute.
He's muted.
He's muted.
That's good.
He's moving.
He's moving, okay.
It's live.
We'll start the meeting. Old business consideration of the November 13th, 2025 minutes. Thanks again, Paul, for putting these together. Do you have any?
I reviewed them, but I did not catch anything. I think they looked good to me.
I thought they looked fine.
Yeah. Same here.
do.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
Okay, cool.
The first item on the agenda was kind of a discussion on our, the proposed ordinance change. That the use of fertilizers containing phosphorus in any form are prohibited within the shoreline zone. And fertilizers containing nitrogen and potassium are allowed in liquid form. That was our proposal. And we think we had a change from the planning board. That, of course, that wanted to have it a little different.
Great.
I'm trying to pull it up so it's in front of me, but I remember when I reviewed it the first time and then the second time, thinking that it had taken a lot of the oomph out of what we had originally
Yeah.
proposed.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's further discussion we can have with them in the hopes of bringing it back to where what we had presented, or if that's that.
So the language that they're looking at is as follows: the use on lawns of all fertilizers containing phosphorus in any form and pesticides within 100 feet of the normal high water line are prohibited within the shoreline zone, except fertilizers applied only in liquid form to portions of lawns greater than 25 feet from the normal high water line. Also exempt from this requirement is fertilization of gardens and planted shrubs and trees. So it's kind of not a very clean sentence or two sentences. You can't have fertilizers with phosphorus or pesticides, I guess, within 100 feet of the normal high water line. But you can have fertilizers applied in liquid form to portions of lawn greater than 25 feet from the normal high water line. So what does that mean? You're prohibiting, but you can use fertilizers beyond 25 feet. So in one hand, they're prohibiting phosphorus fertilizers within 100 feet, but then they're permitting them from 25 to 100 feet, I guess. So,
Right, but yeah, as long as they're in liquid form.
well,
Clear either.
So at first it says that in any form. And then except fertilizers applied only in liquid form. So it doesn't say that those fertilizers are just containing nitrogen and potassium. So I don't understand. I think that's it's a confusing sentence, the first sentence, and then the second one says that, you know, you can fertilize gardens and planted shrubs and trees. But I don't know if that means that you can't fertilize native shrubs and trees. And if you're planted shrubs and trees, how long after you planted them? I mean, couldn't somebody say, well, I planted that 50 years ago, or I didn't? I don't know. I think, find it confusing. So maybe we want to go to the next meeting and ask them to clarify. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that on one hand, I'm happy that they're doing anything. On the other hand, as Kimberly said, they sort of diluted the impact perhaps, and then I've just find it contradictory here. But then professor might be able.
I think-
Uh,
Are they trying to make it, are they trying to make a distinction between liquid and non-liquid fertilizer? And is there any evidence that we have that liquid is safer than bagged fertilizer?
Well, we thought that it was. I think looking at the literature, if it's in crystal form or, you know, powder or whatever, it could wash into the lake. But if it's in liquid form, it would be less apt to wash into the lake, I would guess.
That seems to be the theory, and
That's
it makes some amount of sense. Whether or not that's actually been tested, we don't know.
Don't we need to know that? Just to say that we guess at that doesn't seem to make sense so we can support it.
I don't think we guessed at it. I think that came from all the different discussions and presentations we had. And
Yeah.
we'd have to go back.
But it's more, the situation's more complicated than that because, and I'll just say, because it certainly is true that in terms of, if you're just strictly dealing with the surface, that seems pretty much an open and shut case. That, you know, the liquid's just going to get absorbed down and the granules will sit on the surface until the rain comes and so forth, and they could get washed in. However, the liquid fertilizer, especially if it's over applied, and maybe even if it's not, can very well get into shallow groundwater and then wind up in the lake anyway.
Well, and that's why our original language was that use on lawns of all fertilizers containing phosphorus in any form.
Yeah,
So that was the key, in any form,
yeah,
that we weren't concerned about nitrogen and potassium,
yeah, right.
you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's huge problems in agriculture in all kinds of fertilizers and pesticides getting into groundwater, and the farmers spray liquids. That's what they use. And it's the liquids that are just going down through the ground and getting into the groundwater. And that's basically, and around our lakes, once things get into the shallow groundwater, which is where they're going to go first, they're just going to come out into the lake.
Right.
And so,
But if it didn't have phosphorus in it, then it would be,
right.
you know, I don't know how damaging nitrogen in the lake would be, but phosphorus
This
is.
is much worse, apparently from everything we know.
Everything we've ever heard about this.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to go to their meeting and ask for clarification because it's confusing, and also present what has just been said here. And also ask represent our ordinance phrase.
I guess I hear you, Jen. I sitting here sort of remotely. I am I think this is almost more sophisticated in a political way. I mean, I understand what that we may be going before the select board, but it, if we went to before the planning board and said we're opposed to this because there hasn't been enough study on this to make these clarifications that they are saying, then we think we need to have our evidence, and what we've learned is that it should be a total ban going back 100 feet. Because I think it's sort of a political stand that we need to make with the select board, that the planning board isn't listening to us.
Well, I wouldn't go in saying we're opposed to this. I would go in saying, yay, we're glad you're doing this, but it's confusing the way it's written. And we feel ours is clearer and also prevents phosphorus from getting into the lake better, and have that discussion with them. But if I agree, they're difficult. And if you wanted, and our second agenda is to go to the select board, maybe want to wait. I don't know. I'm not there.
Well, this could be an example. If we went to, maybe we need to, if you go to the select board, this could be an example of the difficulties we're having. So, I mean, and the timing of all this, I think, is pretty important. I agree.
So are they going to move forward with this, though, at their next meeting if we don't say something?
I don't believe so.
Okay, then we have time.
This is their take on what we put, what we.
It was really George Seal.
Yeah, he just
Editing it,
edited on the fly.
on the fly. So then, Matt, you mentioned presenting stuff. I mean, we've tried to do presentations. We haven't done a typical planning board presentation with, exhibits and such. We've given them stuff to read and they haven't read it. So I don't,
That's right.
I'm not, I don't personally feel like I have the energy to go back in front of them, and I don't feel like I was effective the first time with it. But I would go and ask them to clarify this, what do they mean? And just ask them, I think there's some contradictory language in here, and I would wanna build on this, not. I wouldn't want to go to the select board. I wouldn't want to go and say, wait a minute, you got to use ours. I would say, okay, this is great, George. And what do you mean by this? And then sort of parse that out at the meeting. And I don't mind, assuming I'm around, I don't mind going to that meeting. So
Chris, would you have like looking at what they gave us, few questions you could just, we don't understand this piece, so we want to, kind of specific things, or just have them kind of reiterate what they've already done.
are you suggesting I do it via email maybe in advance?
I think something.
I can do that, because George included us on that, you and I and Janet, I think, on that initial email, so I can just say in advance of the next meeting, which is, when is that next meeting?
Third Thursday.
Yeah.
Calendar.
It's right around Christmas, isn't it, or?
It would be the 18th, I believe.
So, were they thinking that was the meeting it was gonna be in? Because I think they've already had one meeting that. So, okay, so I can just throw it out that we can, and just have some questions,
I think that would be effective.
that might be more effective than going in there cold.
Because, Tanya and I were there, we just. We're handed this.
Yeah, you're on the fly.
On the fly, we just didn't have enough time to absorb it ourselves, and
Right,
Plus, it's really hard to understand.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
yeah, so,
And that's the issue, really.
I think the issue is that they're not paying attention to us and that the thoroughness of what we're doing is not coming across to them.
Well, they're still, their first and foremost issue is protecting the landowner. And so they create this convoluted ordinance that nobody can follow.
Come on, Jana.
It's a little,
Jana, the state of Maine, chapter 1000.
Not only can't you follow it, but
Starts with that, so.
yes, Paul?
I don't see how it can be, they're trying to politically make it work, but how can you enforce this? You're gonna have, a 25-foot marker? I mean, it's stupid, my opinion.
Well,
Way it's
okay,
written.
so what's your
I mean,
alternative?
I think we gotta be 100 feet, it's gotta be, what are they trying to preserve? The 75 feet now that you can put liquid fertilizer on? Is there such a big lobby? Is that protecting the property owner so much? If you look at that interest versus the interest of a clean lake, it's ridiculous.
Well, the question is do we want to have something versus nothing? So I would like to clarify to know what did George intend by this? Because it was,
And see if you agree with that.
way it came across was confusing. And then go from there, I guess. No, what did he want to do? Is it just non-phosphorus within the 25 to 100 feet or what? So and if we got basically 25 feet, would that be a start that we could then push to?
I think that makes sense, get clarification.
At least we then have something, and then we could go to expand that perhaps in the future, but I don't, we have been batting what, 100? Whatever our batting record is, it's
Not good.
poor, so not enough of a baseball fan to know what that means, but we're been doing really poorly, so anyway, so that would be what I would recommend with item 1 on the agenda.
Well, I would volunteer to help put some clarification questions. I think we should give them a list of questions before we go there. So, and address those.
We were kind of caught, Ronnie and I flat-footed that he was writing down, then that pointed us that to go.
So Paul, you wanna send me your thoughts on that?
Glad to. I'm disabled now, trying to drive to my grandchildren's house. I'm late for, and sorry I have to do it in the car, but when I get there, I'll go into my computer.
It
So I
looks
would
like
be-
it's snowing. Is it?
No, it's not snowing where I am. Oh, but it's, I will glad to be in touch with you and go over it with you. And I'll put something in writing.
Thank you, I think that would be helpful
That'd be good.
for us
It is
to
driving.
give us, especially give George a written response that he can bring to the planning board. Sarah,
Curiosity, Rome, how are you planning on enforcing whatever you get through? Is it gonna be a fine if they are caught violating this? What's the enforcement plan for if they broach
Right.
this?
And
how are they gonna know this has gone into effect?
And are you counting on their neighbors to like squeal on them? What's the?
Well, we have a code enforcement officer. So, what's that? But I heard something. So, yeah, I mean, how do you enforce it? Cutting a tree? How do you enforce, removing a stump, pulling out a stump that's against the ordinance? A lot of it is neighbors squealing. I mean, that's my experience. I can think of several times that's happened to.
Well, would there be a fine?
Would there be a fine? That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Not sure either. I think that with a lot of what, I shouldn't say that, I believe that with some of what Hans enforces, there are fines associated. I don't know
Right.
if everything has a fine associated. If so, this would just go on the fine list,
Yeah, whatever
or I'm not sure.
category it's in.
That would be a question for Hans to say,
Yeah.
everything you enforce associated with a fine.
We can ask- we can look into the. I can ask Hans, we can ask, what would be the sanctions if this is violated? If you make the sanctions
that's-
pretty strong, then,
That would be helpful.
then that's important. There may be some statutory sanctions that he can rely on already, but I don't know what he's gonna do.
I think this is a better way to go forward, and just
Good.
think about it, get questions answered, take it from there.
Yeah, so Paul, if you could get those to me fairly soon, in the next couple days, then that'd be great. Then I can, I'd like to go to George with some time ahead of this next meeting, the next week.
All right.
That's good.
What do you think, Pat?
I like that.
Next item on the agenda?
Next item. See a meeting with the select board in January to discuss what we have done regarding our recommended changes to Belgrade's shoreline zoning ordinances and what they want from us going forward. It's a broad question.
Yeah, I was the one who had suggested that, or at least was involved in the discussion about it. And we just mentioned today, just now about, bringing this along with the fertilizer as an example of some of the issues. I mean, just the very fact that the planning board sort of taking this over and saying, we're the one who's going to propose this. I mean, if you think about that for a minute, I mean, the select board asked us to do this in consultation with the planning board. But as soon as we talk to the planning board about it, they sort of take it over and say, well, okay, but we're the one who's going to propose it. Right? Because we're the big guys in charge, and you can suggest it to us, but then we'll determine what to do and make the proposal. Right? So I mean, we need to talk to the select board about if that's what the methods, yeah, and that it's not really working for us. And if that's the way they want it done, then, well, we can throw a bunch of stuff at them, but then we're gonna go off and do other things, because we're spinning a lot of wheels here, in case you hadn't noticed.
Right.
Yeah,
Been a year on.
yeah. So there's that. And then one other thing I would just mention is that in my original suggestion, I said, talk to the select board after the January town meeting. And we're having 2 town meetings this year, one in January and one in either late June or July, because we're moving from
Because of the physical year.
changing fiscal years.
Yeah.
So, and the January meeting is actually pretty close to the end of January. I don't know the exact date. What?
I think it's January 28th.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna be pretty busy leading up to that meeting with budget stuff and all. I mean, I know they're really, in fact, there's a meeting, they're having a select board meeting tonight, which was postponed from last week, partially because of the weather and partially because they were still working on some budget stuff that wasn't quite finished yet. This for this meeting. So my point is just that maybe instead of saying January, I think it might be best to wait until after they're finished with the meeting, which would probably kick it into early February.
Right, so I wasn't sure whether you meant like right after the meeting.
I don't mean that the meeting is somehow crucial. I just mean that they're going to be busy.
Yeah, they're busy until the meeting.
Until
Okay.
the meeting,
That
yeah.
makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Did
Right.
you find it, Kimberly?
It is.
But I mean,
We
maybe,
have it on Saturday, January 24th, Belgrade Town Meeting.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so I mean, it may be that they'll have everything all wrapped up by the first of the year. I don't know. I mean, I just know that they're kind of crazy right now. And
So we'll plan for.
and will be for at least through December and maybe into
I
January.
would think just deciding to address this in February after they get through
Yeah.
town meeting
Meeting.
makes the most sense.
Makes sense, yeah, okay, sure. But I do think it would make sense to go back and talk to them about it.
Isn't it, shouldn't we just go to Lorna and ask when we could be on?
Sure. Well, I mean, I should certainly think that if we go there and say, you know, we'd like to get on sometime in February, I doubt that's going to be a problem now. But you know, further out, we ask for it, then the easier it is to get on. So, yeah, sure.
I really think this is an important thing to do. I'm sorry I won't be there.
I nominate to have you in charge.
Well, you can, I mean, you can come, I mean, those meetings are available online, I mean. you can-
Oh, right, they are. Well, I definitely will zoom in.
Yeah.
I mean, we could ask them if maybe they would like to meet us in January. We can ask them, maybe they need a little comment.
Yeah, but there's no reason if people are busy like that at that time of year, we want them to have the patience to focus on this. And it's not an easy issue. I really would like them to have their mind free of any fiscal and other issues that they're responsible for. And we're not in a rush. I mean, we've been spending years on this, getting nowhere. So let's not rush this meeting.
So what's the proper channels that we go through to try to get on a February select board meeting? Is that through Lorna directly,
Yeah.
or is that Hans to Lorna, or I don't know?
Just Lorna.
That's wrong.
And
You want me to talk to Lorna about a time in February, kind of work out
That'd be great.
is it great?
see what time I'll tell her the issues and all that stuff. So we can kind of get prepared, so you know, I think otherwise we'll just keep coming up with some great ideas and
That will go nowhere.
going nowhere.
Makes me feel any better, we have the same issue in Rome.
Oh, really? That's
They don't want to inflict any pain at all on the residents.
right.
Whether-
That's
It's
exactly.
it's problematic. We had a member of our planning board on our water quality committee, Chris Rowley, but he just left. That helped. But it still is, the select board does not want us to inflict any kind of pain on the residents.
Right.
Oh, the select board doesn't, because in our case, it's the planning board, and we don't know, but we think the select board might be more amenable.
No, they don't want any pain felt. And the planning board does kind of puff up their chest a bit to say that they want to be the ones, but they want to review what we say. But we have the same frustration. You do a lot of work, you meet, you research, you do everything you can. And so we've backed away a little bit, saying our primary purpose for the next year is education. Because no one disputes us saying that.
Yeah,
We've done, we just had 7LA and BLA in North Pond come to us and say, what have you done for Rome? And what do you want to do next year? That's a mixed input on that. And I did some analysis of how much Rome spent per shoreland resident on these associations. And then what we get from them. So we felt that we would make a recommendation from a budgetary standpoint of how much we're giving to these organizations to see how much we're getting back. And then,
Well, how do you calculate what you're getting back?
well, we asked them to present on what they did for Rome. We know how many YCC projects were for us. We know how much 7LA got. matching and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
So we know some of that. BLA was a little harder and a little fuzzier, and they get $24,000 from Rome.
Mhm.
7LA gets 8, which I think is a little bit backwards maybe.
Yes,
And so we changed our recommendation a little bit, saying 7LA, who gives us bigger grants for this road work. And the YCC projects should be getting more of our funding, even though it's still small. So we've done those two things as far as making budgetary recommendations to the town. And we're doing, educational materials, using 7LA materials we can, or just trying to do education through our newsletters and through.
Yeah.
We're gonna do some new residence flyers on septic and laws and these sort of things. But we have the same problem where you feel like you're doing all this work and it really matters and the people here are really passionate about the water quality. And how valuable it is, tax dollars and everything, and yet they don't want someone to be fined $100 for doing something wrong.
Right.
And that's what's really hard.
The classic, we don't, there's something happening and I can't point to the one thing that's happening. It's because it's happening from, so it's like global warming, you know, you just the same sort of thing. So therefore, let's not deal with it, you know, because people don't understand and so what does BLA do with the $24,000 that they get?
They fundraise. And give money to 7LA. So they turn around and give your money directly to 7LA.
Right, 'cause they have no,
They have no.
Well,
they have to do.
That's what I was gonna get to is that they don't have a staff, they don't have a building, they don't have overhead. So they get.
They do have a building and overhead. They do have some office space and some overhead.
Oh, okay,
They pay your rental in Seven Lakes Field.
that's 7 Lakes.
Yeah, so they do some of that. They do, I think they do a lot of gathering the volunteers for the courtesy boat inspectors, but 7LA manages them.
Right.
All the scientists are at 7LA. All the marketers are really at BLA. I don't clearly understand why there's two different organizations, but that's not, that's about.
Well,
what they
because
basically-
BLA is only Long Pond and Great Pond.
Right,
And 7 Lakes Alliance is all 7.
you can tell, your town could tell 7LA, I want my money spent on Long Pond only,
Sure.
or Rome residents only. So we're probably gonna flip a little bit, but the biggest problem with Rome next year is we have to do something with our salt shed.
What's that?
Pardon me?
We need a new sand and salt shed.
A new
Sand and salt shed.
Shed,
sand and
Oh,
salt.
the old.
Shed,
shed.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep it
so,
covered.
and that's directly affiliated with the water quality, because it's in Crystal
Crystal
Springs,
Springs Road, isn't it?
and it's a problem.
Yeah.
So. 7LA is looking for grant money, state, local, whatever grant money we could do to try to subsidize that. And this is a huge expense for Rome. This is way beyond their 5-year annual budget. So they're trying to figure that out and
Really, a sand and salt shed?
$750 to $1 million, and they got a quote from Belgrade.
How much?
Belgrade, $50,000 to $1 million.
Oh.
What's this shed?
No idea, but.
I can build you one for less
I
than that.
know, we can just get together on Saturday, bring your tools.
I was shocked, but Belgrade gave them the numbers Belgrade spent on theirs, apparently.
No, there are probably regulations about these.
Oh, yeah.
Salt shed. You can't just throw up a barn.
You need
Well,
sidewalls.
they ruined a bunch of wells in Belgium.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to be very careful in
Yeah.
building those
So-
things.
Water and.
that's gonna be their biggest expense.
Wow.
And so they're looking very carefully at what, and they're saying, our biggest water quality project is gonna be our sand and salt shed. It's not gonna be, anything else. So
Well, for
they're-
one thing, they ought to move it from
they are.
from there.
Purchased all the land around the town building now.
Where's where's the town building?
It's on Mercer Road,
Mercer Road.
junction of Mercer Road.
So 225, do you know?
Rome Corner is like a.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Right,
And so they're gonna develop that whole parcel of land eventually.
okay.
And so first they have to do is the sand and salt shed, must move. So
Yeah,
that's huge, and trying to get grant money and, cause they don't wanna raise taxes.
well,
But you're gonna have to raise taxes, there's.
I mean, you're only talking about $1 million. I mean, I realize that seems like a huge amount, but if you look at your total budget, including the school budget, $1 million is not that much.
Well, their total budget's like 3, so it is a lot.
But you know,
I mean, the school being the.
take out a bond and pay it off over
They've
10
never
years.
Ever. But,
I mean, my family's got been in Rome and I was joking at our last family property annual meeting. The taxes in Rome have gone up very little, right? I mean,
yeah, well, they did assessments this year because we fell below the state threshold for value of house versus assessments. So they raised the assessments, but they lowered the mill rate.
Yeah, true.
So nothing changed.
So they changed it from $12 to $6 so that you didn't have to pay much more, except for shoreline got hit a little hard.
It's like 2 or 3% a year, right?
Yeah, it's very low.
We had here, what do we have?
15%?
15%.
Yeah,
Something great, because I was looking at our budget and saying, you don't have enough money for property taxes, and they said, oh, no. Rome doesn't increase them, and I was just like, who knew that Rome is an example of fiscal responsibility that should be emulated by all the
They
other
don't.
towns? I
they don't
mean,
spend money and they don't. So we've discovered in the septic that people don't have their inspections on file, and that's a state law. That if your house
Oh.
transferred in
right,
the past 4 years now, you have to have it on file. I don't think it goes to the state, I think it's just the
I think
town.
it's a town filing, but I don't think there's no penalty if you don't do it, right?
Well,
No
that's-
enforcement.
if you find all these people and you send them an email to say, or a stamp mail to say, where's your inspection report, what's gonna happen if they don't get it?
Inspection for what?
Septic.
Septic inspection.
Shoreland homes, if it's transferred ownership,
Right, but
Not in
the
a
person
garage.
who does it is the buyer.
the buyer's
So-
supposed to do it, the real estate agents are supposed to enforce it, as long as it goes through a real estate agent. But they said to me last night, what are you gonna do if they don't turn it in? I said, I mean, you wanna fund the same solution, you're gonna have to start finding people somewhere. I mean, I know it's
Right,
not a lot of money, but you have to start, but they don't want pain, they don't want people to have to do anything.
Yeah, because buyers,
That's a roll around.
they may or may not do it, you tell them to, gotta do this, but.
Right, just like in regular home inspection, they may not do that. So I feel the pain that we are working as hard as we can, and we've spent hundreds of hours going through these shoeboxes to file these septic reports, thinking septic was a bigger problem than it was. But we're doing all this work. And you're like, well, why are we doing it? Just so the office doesn't have boxes of paper?
yeah,
There's gonna be no outcome. The 7LA kid who's finishing his humane work is trying to come up with a tool, a community tool where you could look up and see your septic information. Because some of it's not at the state level. And that would be great, and I think
Yeah.
that's funded by 7LA.
Yeah.
So again, we gotta fund 7LA because they're doing more in the long run to help us at a grander scale than we could ever do. But I definitely feel your pain. The planning board is a, we butt heads with them. We butt heads with the select board saying we don't want anyone to have to pay $100 or anything
I
more.
get the wrong attitude. These are rich people from away that
Yeah.
live along the lake. They should be soaked.
They don't think of them as that. They think of them as the poor townspeople of Rome.
Yeah,
There's no like, they can afford it. They're always, it's the poor townspeople of Rome, we can't ask them to pay.
and there is a certain,
Yeah.
there's a certain
Get off the
reality
water, you're.
to that, but my mother-in-law came in one time to complain about her taxes, and they said, well, just sell your property, yeah. Which she'd had forever, so like, so they had a different attitude here, I guess.
But I can share with you, I did this Excel, and I can't guarantee you it's 99% accurate, but. Pete Kalin and Lynn Matson looked at it to kick the tires on it. I looked at all the towns and how much they donate to all these communities. And how much they're spending I tried per resident, but
Yeah,
we don't have a problem. So I have the number of parcels that are developed in Rome on the water.
on the water,
And so then I looked at how much, and it's like $20 for BLA. Per parcel. And it's interesting to look at, the towns and how much they're spending. Rome outspent Belgrade,
yeah, when-
because you donate to Friends of Messalonsky, and we don't.
Yeah.
More of your money goes to Friends of Messalonsky than it does to Settle Away. But it was interesting data to just have that there when we were looking at the budget.
Well, it goes to Friends of Mazelonsky in fairly large quantity because of their milfoil operations.
Yes.
Right, it also goes to McGraw Pond Salmon Lake Association,
Yeah.
but in smaller amounts because we don't have milfoil. And so our expenses are lower.
But I did all the towns, Mount Vernon, and I wrote down the numbers, I'll share it with Pat to share with you. And I welcome any, sanity checking we can, but I just tried to keep track of looking at which towns spent how much money where.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that, the phosphorus coming from septic was calculated or estimated to be 56,
53 kilograms a
53
year.
kilos. So I worked that out. That's 29 tons of algae.
They didn't have, I said, someone in Belgrade has this number. So what's the algae to phosphorus?
According to Lenny's book, it was, it
500
was 500
to one.
pounds of phosphor, of algae for a pound of phosphorus.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's according to, the book,
Ripple effect.
word, ripple effect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he had references. I doubt that was original.
No, I don't think that's not the
It's
original.
about nitrogen though. Long Pond has more of a nitrogen problem than Great Pond.
But
The long,
does
nitrogen-
nitrogen, I mean, that's a health issue.
I think it's also an algae problem.
Not so much as far as, well, I mean, we have always, all these studies that have been that been promoted to us as, members of BLA or Seven Lakes Alliance, has all been that phosphorus is the key, the limiting factor that.
Typically saltwater, they're more concerned about nitrogen.
In salt water, yeah.
And it's easier to remove
Oh,
than
is it?
phosphorus, yeah.
Oh,
They-
phosphorus you can't remove.
There's a lot of treatment post-septic for nitrogen, but Seminole is now starting to look at nitrogen as well.
Huh. Oh.
Yeah, so this study that they've done, and will be on their website in the next day or two, also shows nitrogen load.
Hmm.
It's kind of a cool study, and so my big question is, they're doing a lot for septic. And I had heard that BLA was gonna be doing, and BLA was supposed to be funding a Colby student who was supposed to come and do something for septic.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's happened.
That's happened.
I,
They're gonna be done by the end of January, and Stuart Cole is going to have that as a shareable document and get at least me and
when
show
I went to
others.
Stuart Colby, he said it's not Colby, it's UMaine, it's this kid.
it's,
Alex.
he's a Farmington, student, right? You mean
Yes.
Farmington?
Yes.
It was,
So it's
yeah.
not Colby, it's UMaine.
Okay, but it's happening, I guess my point was.
Oh, the presentation was yesterday.
Okay.
And he's finishing up and he'll add to it. So I feel better, because then I was even more upset about BLA. I'm like, if you're not working with us on septic and we're doing our own septic with 7LA through UMaine, then I don't understand what's going on. So it didn't end up being Colby.
BLA doesn't have any staff. It's volunteers, so their money goes to Seven Lakes Alliance for most of the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the BLA was supposed to pay for the Colby student, and their treasurer told me that they were gonna be paying for Colby, and it got all convoluted, and everyone kept saying Colby, and I was dealing with UMaine, and I'm like,
Yeah.
where's the Colby?
Yeah, I think that was the UMaine student.
It was the UMaine, Alex
Right.
Debo, excellent
Yeah.
tools that he has to work with.
Great,
Um,
what a great.
really a valuable thing, and I think we all need to dig into that a little bit more as far as septic and kind of. If we make this community tool that allows people to go in and do their address and see their septic system and see what their contribution is to the lake.
Yeah,
Now, they could edit it based on, cause it's based on bedrooms, not people,
Yeah.
not seasonal use, not Airbnb. So it would be interesting to see if it was a community tool.
if
that
you,
people
if you
could
could,
Yeah.
if you could rationalize it so it had, those factors involved, because,
And we talked about that a bit yesterday about trying to add that in, and they could.
yeah.
The software tool that they have does a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And that could be a very interesting contribution for septic, and it would help with the awareness of the Airbnbs and.
Well, to the question about nitrogen. Here's part of the answer. It's more complicated than just what I'm gonna read. But this is sort of the main part of it. Phosphorus is the primary limiting factor. In most freshwater systems, phosphorus is considered primary limiting nutrient. This means algae growth is typically restricted by low natural concentration of phosphorus in the water. Nitrogen is, however, a co-limiter. It's required in much larger amounts by algae than phosphorus. While phosphorus is often the initial trigger, a combined enrichment with both nitrogen and phosphorus leads to the most substantial and consistent algal growth responses. Therefore, nitrogen frequently acts as a co-limiting nutrient. The ratio of nitrogen to phosphorus determines which nutrient is the limiting factor at any time. So,
Does
Yes,
it give a
the law-
ratio as to,
well, not what I'm looking at here doesn't.
Gets 913 kilograms of nitrogen,
Say it again?
913 kilograms of nitrogen a year in Long Pond,
in Long Pond?
Yeah.
of the phosphorus.
Yeah, so, so it turns out, so you do need nitrogen, it's just true, there's a lot more nitrogen in the water than there is phosphorus.
Yeah.
That's why it turns out that phosphorus is the limiting factor.
Oh, okay.
There's already a lot of nitrogen in there in most cases.
But septics do
Throw out a lot of
throw out.
nitrogen, yeah, right, so if it turns out for whatever reason there isn't enough on nitrogen, then that becomes the limiting factor. But normally there is already enough nitrogen. Plenty of nitrogen, yes.
It's the phosphorus
First, it's the molybdenum, yes, but you need both.
And what Belgrade could do for this study is to fill in the blank. Where he didn't have the data at the state level, is to, in your records, find the map and lot number and fill in its age, flow, size of the system and the number of bedrooms. Which is all on the AGG form, if you have it, on paper. And then we would actually have accurate data.
That would be really nice.
Then you can keep going with your pond, Snow Pond, you can keep going, North Pond, beyond, but it's a massive amount of data that he does.
Right. Well, I've been really pleased that they're working on this sort of thing. BLA is working on this sort of thing rather than the loons, which I think are just fine.
But it is 7 LA. That's
Doing
the
all the
thing.
work.
It's 7 LA.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Bert Langette, when he was the president of BLA, was in here and he said, we're gonna get right on this. So it was really the BLA, yeah, it was the BLA that was the motivation behind it, but certainly, Seven Lakes
We had a
Alliance.
joint gathering at the Village Inn last weekend, BLA and 7LA, kind of a Christmas holiday thing. The BLA rep said, we're fundraisers and you guys are doers. So
Right.
meaning.
Seven Lakes Alliance.
Seven Lakes Alliance, so before there was a lot of friction, I think that's slowly softened.
Good.
And so,
People are still very confused.
very confused.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
And that's a huge problem.
Yes,
It's
oh, I think it's amazing. Yeah.
No, it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. If BLA is the fundraisers and they're the doers, then what about all the other lake associations?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because BLA is fundraising for 7LA to work on Long Pond and Great
That's
Pond.
it.
And the other lake associations are left out. And so it becomes two lakes alliance and the Five Dwarfs. And that's not what it is, or that's not what it should be. So,
Be involved and
yeah,
we should all-
right. So that is dysfunctional. You may say that's wonderful and kumbaya, but I look at that as totally
I agree with
dysfunctional.
you.
Are the other lake associations doing fundraising so they can actually raise the money?
They
and
want-
have
they
seven
The other lake associations don't have anywhere near the funds that BLA has. And Messalonsky ultimately might be in the same league, but they have been totally hands-off for historical reasons.
Right.
Yeah, that could change. Good.
But
I
also,
wanna
because
raise
there's alphabet soup, people do not,
Messalonsky stream.
Okay, Tanya?
But that's another thing, but I mean, if you look at our lake association, I mean, we have like 80 to 100 members, and it's just a whole different ballpark. It's just we can't compete. It's in numbers, and so we're just totally left out. It's just
So that seems like that's.
But-
Fixable,
well, it's fixable if
no, well,
BLA.
no problem.
We got Tanya's next, then you.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, then.
Well, they
Who's
got in
next?
touch with us last week and they want Friends of Messalonsky to raise all the money for the eradication chemically of the stream. And I said, it's not, the stream is not part of Friends of Messalonsky.
Oh, but it's right there and.
Well, it's-
Yeah, but where's Seven Lakes in this?
Yeah, well, they can ask for whatever they want to ask for.
They can ask, exactly.
Yeah, it's a,
But
this can be a
if
big,
in addition to what Lenny said, there's an alphabet soup. So that people don't know what BLA stands for. They think Belgrade Lakes means that if you live on Messalonsky and donate to BLA, your money goes to Friends of Messalonsky. So people don't even understand what these associations represent. And we've been spending years trying to educate people who live on Messalonsky to understand where their money goes when they donate money. That's how confusing all of this is.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I thought I was just new to the organization and didn't understand. And we asked the president of BLA to come and present to us. I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand. If I give you $1, how much do you give to 7LA? 50 cents? 75 cents? He said it's like 90 some odd cents, because they do pay for some overhead and fundraising
Right.
and their newsletter and whatnot. But I said, I still don't understand. Why are you just the fundraising arm of 7LA? Why isn't it just one group? And you give to the lake that needs it the most based on the biggest impact to the whole area. So I feel better that you said that, because I didn't understand it and I felt,
Nobody does.
no, but 7LA is bringing big money. If you're thinking the roads are important, I mean, with the matching funds that they have, those people that are trained to get the grants, to find the grants, to write the grants with you, to get bigger money. The question is, if you give $1 to BLA, do they make it into $2 with their fundraising? I don't know.
Well, I mean, BLA does a pretty substantial amount of its own fundraising.
Yeah.
So,
So, but is it best to give them money to grow our dollar into $4 through fundraising? I don't know.
I'm not sure that that's what would happen. Man, BLA's been around for 100 years, right?
They're the oldest one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I,
116 or something.
20 years.
more than 100 years.
Wow.
Then there was the BRCA, Belgrade Regional.
Pat, could you admit me?
Alliance, which
Was
was,
docks to doorways at one point.
I think Seven Lakes was.
The Docks to Doorways was the program for raising money to build the Main Lakes Resource building that Seven
Yeah,
Lakes
so-
wanted to
so-
do.
BRCA,
Pat, could you admit me on another Zoom?
what's that?
I need to be admitted on my computer.
Because now he's on. So you see another person in your waiting room.
are you in now?
Coming.
Recording in progress.
Great.
Wow. Freaky. So there's a long history to these organizations, and the Seven Lakes Alliance was, the Alphons basically said, we don't wanna contribute to all these various ones, you have to consolidate, so they consolidated the Main Lakes Resource Center and
Yes.
and all the stuff together and, but I mean, if you feel that Seven Lakes Alliance is spending disproportionately more money on Long Pond and Great Pond relative to the funds that they come in, then, I mean, you should say that to Seven Lakes Alliance, I guess.
Well, I think they're spending disproportionate amounts of staff time. See, what's happening is that money is basically it's buying staff time. And so the staff time is going disproportionately there.
Interesting.
It is, yeah. Right.
Is it just a squeaky wheel thing though? Because every time I go to
It's
them,
not squeaky wheel, it's money.
ask for help.
Mhm.
Finding money. From Rome, who's only giving them $8,000,
Yeah,
they're right there to come and help, I think.
yeah.
And
Oh,
you
sure.
can't email them or phone them, you have to really go in,
Yeah.
it's more effective, but
Yeah.
they've been very proactive in helping us.
Right,
That's
right, yeah, helping you where?
In matching funds in the YCC applications
For what?
for Rome,
Where?
Great Pond and North Pond, we don't differentiate.
Okay, yeah. All right.
And,
Hmm.
and Long Pond.
Mhm.
We do give money to North Pond Association as well,
Sure, okay,
because they do courtesy boat inspections of their own.
sure, yeah.
But I would like to see just one association for everything and let BLA be the fun.
Well, I mean, I mean, certainly there have been plenty of discussions about that over the years. Oh, the problem with one association is that there are many people who strongly prefer to have their own local lake association for their lake.
Right.
Yeah,
And like to identify with their lake, whichever lake it is. And they're not that interested if I'm on Salmon Lake or if I'm on Zelensky or North Pond, I'm just not that interested in what's going on Long Pond, et cetera. That's just who I'm just taking, an average.
No, I think
A lot of people are like that. And so it turns out that, having an alliance of all of the different lakes and lake associations and so forth, and one sort of central organization, which was like Seven Lakes Alliance, it seems to be the best way to go. Because if you try and get everybody all in one organization, there are a lot of people who just aren't interested.
Yeah. So.
And you need,
Yeah, sure.
and you need the lake associations to be advocates for their lakes or things don't happen. But by the way, Seven Lakes Alliance has somewhere on their website an analysis of all the work that they do, all the money that gets paid, and it's analyzed like a spreadsheet. I'm sure it's very complicated. I haven't looked at it. That says how they spent their money this year. They just announced that to us at a meeting. So that information is somewhere.
They will break it down for you, so we've asked each association to come to our meeting and say, how did you spend the money that we gave you? And they came up with,
well, we have to give them money every year, Friends of Messalonsky. Because the DEP gave them our money for milfoil eradication.
Let me ask a question. How is this relevant to our committee?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're just chewing the fat.
I think
Well,
from my observation, I think we've been through the 2 items on the agenda.
Yeah.
So I can give you an update on my conversation with Daniel.
Before you do that, Chris, I just want to, does this whole discussion bring up the issue of a watershed district, which has been kicked around for many years? And what is 7LA's position with that? And I know Pat, didn't we have a lecture by Denny Keschel?
Years ago, yes.
Years
we've
ago?
got that old notes.
Oh, so did you say election?
A lecture. He
lecture.
talked to us. I mean, he was a big advocate.
Yeah, he talked to us about it. Yes, right. Yes.
And,
Well, I don't think that's going anywhere, Paul, do you?
Well, maybe it should go somewhere if you look at, if we are gathering the science and we as a committee understand how interrelated the lakes are. I mean, I think the question I would pose for our relevancy of our committee is there a position that we may want to take in terms of examining a watershed district? Or is that something that we should look at as a committee and say yay or nay? What are the positives and negatives of that?
Yeah, that's been brought up. I think we talked about that at the planning board, didn't we?
And I think Denny did it for our committee in 2021
And what was the outcome that you remember from that?
from Denny's.
Yeah.
It was just a presentation and
My
no, I had no action.
my feeling is that it's.
You see the past week. It's
Excuse
been great
me,
out
Tanya?
the ceasefire. And if we get from where we were,
My understanding is that it works for Auburn, right?
Yeah.
Because of their water supply. But that there was political and economic reasons why it was not gonna happen here. Is that?
I don't think it was ever proposed. Denny just gave us an outline of it. I've got the notes in the 2021 minutes that I have. It was just kind of a presentation on what a watershed district is, not how exactly it would work here, just like an overview.
I think it's very interesting, and I think a major issue, Pat, in that wasn't whether this would-be association would have a taxing authority.
Yes,
And
You
if
were
you could
great.
tax, then you could have a mutual budget, and you would avoid some of these schisms and pluralism we're talking about now. I mean, that's the idea, is because it's one problem that everybody is impacted by. I don't know, is it something, it's a little larger, but somebody has to look into this.
And a 7LA
think-
presented on?
No,
no, it was Dennis Keschel, former town manager.
He was the town manager.
here,
And state rep, wasn't he the state rep too?
he was that as well,
Yes,
yes,
all sorts of things.
Yeah.
and a Republican.
There you go.
I just offer that for food for thought, as because
Okay.
that seems to be where you're going.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That seemed to me like a big lift, and I'm not sure what the payoff, I'm not sure what that gets us. I guess that was my thought.
Does that get us out of the problems we're both having with not having town-wide attention problems with efforts that we're trying to produce? If it was a watershed district.
Like the
would we be-
Cobbessy
would be-
watershed.
We'd be more.
Yeah, I think that is the model that Denny was looking at.
Yeah.
Here's something.
Maybe worth looking into, see what the 7LA's position is on this. Have they thought it through, or they're, is it? Oh, we could
Well,
just,
Denny was on the board of Seven Lakes for a number of years before he moved away from the area about 4 or 5 years ago.
right.
I don't know that he really promoted it while he was there. I don't know that Seven Lakes has a particular perspective on it. I think we all understood that it was a political non-starter. It's the problem. The huge problem with it is that the watershed district, you're creating a new political entity that has both authority and taxing power, and the towns hate the idea of giving up authority, and the people hate the idea of giving some additional taxing power to a new entity. So between the two of them, it seems like it would be dead in the water as soon as you broach it. But
Well, it's all about the water.
conventional wisdom.
It's all about the water. In Auburn, it was drinking water. This
Yeah, well,
water is
right,
our
of course,
economic
of course.
and
Well, that was a special, sure, that's a special case. But no, I'm a terrible political prognosticator, so don't listen to me.
Makes sense.
No, I think it would be an enormous effort. And I mean, look how we can't even get through to our one little board in our one little community. I think in the long run, it would be a wonderful thing, but I myself personally can't imagine lifting that effort. But I'd go along if somebody.
we have I don't know, just an idea. Is there any traction to this? I mean, there was before, and I'm hearing, we have an opportunity that we could look into this. I'm not saying that, if it's a political non-starter, then.
Well, we could bring this up with the select board when we meet with them in February. It's something we could look into in a little more detail between now and then. so that we could make at least a brief presentation to them about what it would entail and just get their reaction.
Could you take the notes, the watershed discussion notes, and forward those out to us? I know it's years later, but if that's something you have access to?
Should be.
Yeah.
I was looking, going through from 2021 to
Yeah,
now over the weekend, last weekend, just making sure I had all the old notes and so on and so forth.
it's a pretty interesting concept, you know.
That one popped up,
So you still have those notes?
I believe so, yeah.
And could you circulate those? So.
And Chris, do you have another subject to update?
Yeah, I talked to Danielle Wayne from Seven Lakes Alliance about the concept of trying to create a tax. Well, first I talked to Chris Mons, and then he thought Danielle Wayne was the right person, so I talked to her about the concept of creating a tax break for erosion protected shorelines along the lines of the Lake Smart program, and so taking Lake Smart and merging it with like the tree growth tax program that the state of Maine has, and they have several other programs out there. And so Daniel was to speak to Jen Jefferson because about this, because we really need. I have land that's in tree growth protection, and I get a tax break for that, and you get a licensed forester that writes a management plan for your woodlot, and then once you have that, that's good for 10 years, and you get a tax break. So you're taxed at a reduced rate. I think it's always a reduced rate, but I think it might actually be a uniform rate throughout the whole state. So the concept Danielle and I were talking about, Danielle and I were talking about would be what kind of certification, and she had something, I don't know if I have that in front of me, but there was somebody that was a certification that you could have. I'm not sure I have that in these notes or not, but we were trying to come up with and I don't have that with me, so if we could find a certification that people have that could go to a property and certify that you have done everything you can to mitigate runoff, your septic is okay, your buffer is okay, you know, your driveway and your drip edge, all that is okay. Maybe that would give you the ability to have a document from a certified person that would then allow you to get a discount. So that's the concept.
State or local?
It would have to be a state law. So we looked into that you couldn't do it.
Right.
It can't be like the ordinance we couldn't do it as an ordinance. So this is outside of this committee, sort of. We would have to, can we do this? And then we would have to get somebody, and we were thinking Sharon Frost is the representative for us in the state legislature, and maybe she would put forward something. We could work with her to create a bill to go to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the concept.
Right now, the town attorney's reviewing.
No, I think we got.
I
We
think
were
he came back.
told by the town attorney that we couldn't do it as an ordinance. And, I don't know if I have that opinion here. I think you might have sent that by
If
email.
Rob can help you at all on that, we'd be interested in joining forces
Yeah, I think, we're gonna need forces,
I
if
mean,
we.
it's a carrot versus a stick, I really like it, and people
Well,
would.
that's
support us.
that's the concept, is that, you know, you can educate, you can legislate. You know, you can have the ordinance as the stick, but if you have a carrot and education together, I think game over for 90% of the people out there. That if
That's
it's-
impressive, that's, I think, a very worthwhile project that everyone would get behind.
Yeah, so let's just see if, so I'll continue to work on it, and maybe, you know, if I can get from Daniel some direction on how we would do this, then we can figure out the next steps, and then once we sort of, I kind of figure we need to cobble out a framework for it, and then join forces and try to get that passed.
And the next step I could see is towns and roads. And what the town could get. Something, if they had their roads constructed right, that would reduce. Runoff.
Just like,
Camp road, private roads,
That
especially
may,
shoreline zone.
just,
that
you
may
know,
exist with the, what are the 319 grants? Is that the?
Yeah, we use,
They do make funds for that, yeah.
Yeah, because we, did that on
Yeah.
our road.
Yep.
we use one
Would
of
this
those.
we do,
it-
we
would this
rebuilt
be
our-
creating an entire entity that did the assessment? Or would you go to something like Lake Smart and talk to them about it and see if they could create something? Because the way Lake Smart is now, it's not an entity that could hand out a legal anything. Their reward is based on their standards, which are, believe me, very hard to attain. So would this require creating a whole new entity that did the assessments on each property?
I don't think we know that yet.
I don't think it would be an entity. I think it would be what Danielle is talking to Jen Jefferson about, is that to get her thoughts, and Danielle had given me, there is an educational certification that you can get that is like a certified water quality manager, something like that, you know. So there's something existing out there, and she wanted to see whether this fit under that. So, and then there were, she thought that there were people who have all the qualifications for that certification, but they haven't bothered to do it, you know. So basically, you get somebody like I did with, I went to a forester, and I went to two foresters, and I said, how much would you charge for a management plan for my 722 acres in New Sharon? And I got a price from one and I got a price from the other, and I went with the lowest bid, of course. And then they write a management plan. And then I think I only had to go to the town of New Sharon and say, I have a management plan. Or maybe I had to get something from the forester saying there is a management plan. And then once that was established, then I could make sure that my land was in tree growth. So this would be the same sort of thing, but it's, you know, it's at the infancy of where it is. And, you know, we talked about the Lake Smart, and you know, Lake Smart is a whole different animal. We don't want this to compete with Lake Smart, because I'm sure that there are people that have, you know, vested interest in Lake Smart going forward. So we want something that's compatible but not duplicative and not in competition with. So not, you know, not an entity, but a procedure for anybody in the state of Maine
I'm just-
wants to get a tax break for being a good steward of their land and water quality. So there you
I
go.
think, Chris, that we got to look at it
I just,
a little bit from the other end, which is this ever going to be, we could do all this work, but is there any reality to the state of Maine passing such a thing? And what are the state of Maine's requirements going to be in similar legislation? And I thought that maybe we should invite Sharon Frost and get to know her. Most representatives are very interested in working with communities and presenting new kinds of legislation. Maybe we could have a joint committee meeting with us in Rome and invite Sharon Frost and talk about this matter. And the other thing is, where the state mooring situation is. What aspects of what we're doing do we need to coordinate with the state?
The state publishes tax revenue they get from the lakes,
Yeah.
It's a huge thing.
so that's what they're getting out of it.
Yeah, they're getting a lot, but when you start putting together legislation and start moving in that way, there's a lot of politicking. And is there any reality to something like this going through? Has
Absolutely.
any other
Absolutely.
jurisdictions done anything like this?
No, this is called, lobbying and,
Yeah.
and, we're, if you get the main lakes and you get all the lake associations in the lake and you get all the people behind it, then,
We gotta
you
roll
just gotta push it forward.
The people in Auburn, that you've interacted with, the people in Auburn, they would be interested, or.
Because I think for us to talk about, what's the certification for an inspector, I think we're in the weeds. We got to look at the real major issue, whether this is has any traction at all. Can we move ahead with it at all?
All right, Paul, good.
Anything
Right?
else?
I think in the minutes we had, someone talked to Sharon Frost.
This is going here, yeah, they don't want their stuff moved.
So I would rather not,
I'm like,
involve Sharon Frost until we
My best.
have, more direction.
Okay,
But I think that you're right, at some point, we would involve her, but, yeah, it seems.
Clarify really what it is.
So yeah, I'd like to have an ask for her first, define what we're gonna ask her and then lead her in that direction.
See if Danielle was.
Yeah, I mean, I lobbied, Tom Allen and Susan Collins, and I testified before the Senate Affairs Committee, and I got postal reform passed, and I just wasn't invited to the ceremony in the Rose Garden because the Direct Marketing Association decided that they wanted to go. So it can be done. Do it. It's not that big a deal.
Hey,
Nancy, Mary needs us to clear out of here by 5.
do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, I just had this question.